Made up this problem, variable expression made with letters, right? And told you what each letter what represented. So the first thing you do is substitute. You don't do anything else. You don't do any other changes to the problem. So I write, instead of the letters, I substitute in the values for X and Y. Notice that I have put them in parentheses. These parentheses that I put in here, okay, they help keep that letter, the number that represents that, to keep it together, especially if it's negative. Now, the reason normally with positive ones, I don't put them in parentheses unless they're multiplications. Okay, like if it said XY, then I would put them both in parentheses so that it looks like multiplication. Okay. The reason I put this one in here is because there's a minus sign in front of this X, which means the opposite of X. If X was negative, I would absolutely want to put that negative X value in parentheses. Okay. I would not give you this problem. Mikey gave it to you. It's harder than what you're going to see on the test. That's okay. All right. It's more difficult than what you're going to see on the test. Actually, this whole problem is more difficult. Okay. Now, what is the first step, or what tells us what order to do everything in? Now that I've done the substitution, PEMDAS, right? So now I use the order of operations. Do I have any parentheses in this problem with operations inside of them? This parentheses sort of counts. I can do that. Okay. So I can just make this -2. Okay. And then I have parentheses here. So I have to do everything inside these parentheses. Inside the parentheses, you have to use the rest of the order of operations. So what's the first thing inside these parentheses that I have to do? Read. Exponent. That exponent, okay? If there's an exponent inside the parentheses, then you have to do that first. If there's multiplication or division, you would do that next, and then add, okay? So that means I'm not going to do anything with this 4 plus. What's -2 to the second? Holden, what's -2 to the second? This, what does that mean? You don't remember what an exponent does? What it means? Lily?
-2 times 2.
This, nope.
-2 times itself.
-2 times itself 2 times. If this was a 3, it would be -2 times -2 times -2, right? So now if you wanted to like remember this someplace else, you don't write it underneath here with the equal sign. We don't put equal signs in the middle of the problem. Instead, over here, I would do -2 times -2 equals +4. +4. So that's what goes here. Now I have done the exponent step. What's next?
Multiply.
Not yet. I still have parentheses in the problem. The 4 plus 4 in parentheses has to get finished, right? So this is still here. And 4 plus 4 is 8. Now what? Now the multiplication, right? Because I've done parentheses. I don't have any exponents left in the problem. I'm at multiplication and division. So -3 times 2, Blake, is what? -6, right? The signs are different. The answer is negative. And then finally, the answer to this problem is 2. Okay? So, important things. The substitution step is required. Do not make any changes to the problem other than where there were letters, put in a number, and if it's negative, you should put it in parentheses. And if it's right next to a letter, you should put it in parentheses. And if it has a negative sign in front of it, you should put it in parentheses. Okay? It's absolutely required that this one be in parentheses. If you don't put parentheses around this -2, your problem is incorrect. Because then the exponent would only work on the 2 and your answer would be negative. We talked about that last week. It's more complicated than what you'll see, but okay. Then use the order of operations. Operations inside parentheses, and if you have something in parentheses, you use the order of operations inside there if there's more than one thing happening inside the parentheses until you don't have any parenthesis operations anymore. Then you do exponents, there aren't any, then you do multiplication, division, then adding, subtraction.